by the way, we shouldn't be surprised that Donald Trump did that. I want to tell you why, because he did business in my state while I was governor. The only person who could bankrupt 3 casinos when we had a monopoly in New Jersey back then. It was New Jersey and Nevada. How could you not make money running a casino? I want you to think about that. 3 casinos went bankrupt under his management. And the last story that I'll tell you about that was what he said to me when I came in with that $11 billion deficit on a $29 billion budget. We were friends, and he picked up the phone and called me and said, "Hey, I read about that deficit, that's brutal." He said, "Let me tell you what to do." Believe me, at that moment, I would have taken suggestions from anybody. So I said, "Sure, Donald, what do you think?" And he said, "Go bankrupt." I said, "I'm sorry, you don't understand. The law prevents a state from going bankrupt." He goes, "Do it anyway." He said, "They'll sue you. By the time the case gets resolved in court 2 or 3 years later, everyone will have forgotten about it. And you'll be in good shape politically. Otherwise, you're going to have to make some really hard choices that are going to make people really hate you. And I want to see you do well." Should we be surprised that the guy who made that suggestion to me in 2010 is the guy who ran up $7.8 trillion in debt? Those are just 3 of the issues, but I want to go back to the first one. When we saw what happened in Washington, D.C. 2 nights ago, with a Republican speaker being kicked out of office, whether you love Kevin McCarthy or you hate Kevin McCarthy or you're somewhere in between, it shows that Republicans can't govern. And that's bad for 2024, everybody. Really bad. And while all this tumult was going on in the House of Representatives, where was the front runner for our nomination and our nominee the last 2 presidential cycles? Was he down in Washington to try to help solve the problem and calm some of his supporters? Was he on the phone desperately trying to win votes for McCarthy or for somebody else? No. He was in a courtroom defending himself against fraud charges. And by the way, everybody, that's where he's going to be for the next year and a half. There's this case, then there's the January 6th criminal case, then there's the documents criminal case, then there's the criminal case in New York, then there's the criminal case in Georgia. And by the way, with all those criminal cases, it's not optional to show up like on the civil cases right now. As a condition of bail, and remember, he's out on bail in 4 different jurisdictions. He has to be in that courtroom. Not fighting Joe Biden, not fighting the Democrats. What independent voters in this country are going to vote for that? So we better get real about this, and New Hampshire's a place to get real about it. Character matters, it counts. And we better vote for somebody who we think can carry the day and win independent voters so we can win the White House back. So I'll stop there and take your questions about